an artificial hive that's being created, right, by a controlling apparatus, as opposed to, as you know, the organic hive, I call it, the organic hive, that we are already connected to Earth. We have our individual intuition, and by trusting our intuition individually, as individuals, maintaining that, we can best serve the community, we can best serve the whole. Where we go one, where we go all, I think is a great way of saying it.
Well, right? I think following your heart, and also one of the things that happened to me was after I got triggered in 2001, I had to rebuild my consciousness and my memories of the torture and the satanic rituals, and we're talking about axe murder rituals. We're talking about human sacrifice and being buried alive and all sorts of nasty stuff. And all I have to say is I started studying David Icke's work. I started studying Mark Passio's work and ancient high philosophy and the Bible. And I did everything I could to take a look at the human consciousness and what makes it tick. And that's why I find Dr. Bruce Lipton's, The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton to be you have to know that information. If you don't know about the programmable state and that we're epigenetic creatures, you've got no chance in this. Okay, I'm just saying it's huge.
Explain that.
Yes, that you're in charge. Nobody else. The dark occult always wants to disempower, but the truth of the Godhead is always self-empowering and self-responsibility. You know it's coming from the Satanists when it's collectivism, when it's finger pointing. They're doing this, they're doing that. Let me tell you, a person with higher consciousness is looking at the man in the mirror, nobody else, because it's through individual work, doing the shadow work, doing the emotional freedom technique, reading the books by Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Are you familiar with him?
Oh, indeed. Dispenza, Lipton. In fact, I was at their conference with Braden all before the pandemic started, and I used to work for Gaia, so I also had a chance to interview. Not directly, but I interviewed some similar.
This is information about what the reason we're here, Sean, is to learn and grow in consciousness. The divine goddess, okay? Now there's the All-Father according to the Gnostics, and I call that the 0-point energy field consciousness that is love. And then the template of where we're at, this holodeck we're in, this virtual consensus reality, it is the Divine Mother who made this reality so she could make the anthropos, which is the human being, which can be a go-between between the Godhead and three-dimensional reality. Now, very tough thing to do. I'm sure that when my parents told me that this is the fifth or sixth world age that the anthropos, the human race, has gone through, it's probably true. We build ourselves up and then we destroy ourselves. And they claim that the demiurge did that, the chief archon.
Okay, so this is great. This is important. This is an important history because I very much resonate. We're actually interviewing John Lamb Lash and others in terms of understanding the Gnostic understanding. So your parents seem to have more of a Gnostic understanding of the world. So
my parents, of any of the religious status quo that was out there, I mean, I have this one neat story. We're driving to the Church of the Marquis of Hell after we go to our regular church, and it was just Presbyterian. And we would go Sunday afternoon to the Church of the Marquis of Hell to be raped and brutalized. And we did that every Sunday. Now we're driving to the Church of the Marquis of Hell in Arden, Delaware, under the Candlelight Dinner Theater. And my mother says to my father, because she saw the moon low in the sky, and it was a fall day, and sometimes the moon is visible during the day. And she said, I'm studying, I told Buzz Ware, the head of the cult, I'm thinking about studying the Dakini of the moon, which is part of the goddess worship, the 16 Dakini in the moon. Anyway, my father stopped the car, pulled it over, and almost hit my mother and said to her, what are you, crazy? That's Kali. She'll kill us. Just saying. Of any of the religious things out there, that was the only time I saw my father voice terror at a spiritual belief system. And that was the goddess, Kali.
The goddess. So again, give us a bit of the cosmology, because you were talking about the anthropos and then the chief archon, the demiurge, and just give us a little bit of the cosmology as you understood it from your parents' perspective, and have then thus.
Well, my parents would, they had two sons other than myself, but my father and mother were grooming me to be 10th generation Illuminati. And they would give me talks about the true history and spirituality of the planet after dinner, like twice a week. And then they'd also be talking to my brothers. But we didn't have a family Luciferian class. It was always my parents and me, or my brother John and my parents. We never did it together. Compartmentalization is something these people are well into. But my mother told me the most important thing to the Illuminati is the collective subconscious. And so programming that subconscious in the programmable state through enculturalization is the most important thing to them. Because once they've got you bamboozled, as Carl Sagan says, it's easier to be bamboozled than to believe that you have been bamboozled. And so if they get you in the programmable state, and people today, they sit their children in front of television. Well, television is digital now, and the subliminals pouring out audio and visual are not to be messed with. I mean, it's one of the worst things you can do for a child in the programmable state. But my parents acknowledged the All-Father, that there was a God above their God. All right? I'm just saying that.
Exactly. So they recognized that they were basically worshiping the demiurge, right? They believed.
Yes, they were Saturn worshippers in a way.
Saturn worship, exactly. So